locations with Kevin. What could go wrong? Okay, I'm hitting go. Okay, it says 3. Hey, it says that we are live on the YouTubes for the, what is it, September 2023 Westlake Charter School Board meeting. Board President Golick, you have the floor.
Thank you. I'm trying to get all my technology in order. I think I'm getting there. Welcome everybody out there watching. Just as a reminder, if you'd like to make a comment on a board item that we're discussing tonight, you can send an email to admin@westlakecharter.com. Just put in the subject line the item you're commenting on, and please try to keep it to 250 words. Not every comment will may be read into the minutes, but if for some chance we don't get to it, we will include it and make sure that the entire board sees it. With that, Amy, will you please take the roll?
Yes. Hope?
Here.
Sean? Here. Josh? Meredith? Amber?
Here.
Suzanne?
Here.
Nurali?
Here.
And Ann?
Here.
Perfect. Thank you. That brings us to celebrations. Who would like to go first?
I'll go first. I'm going to do my favorite one from governance. We're sitting next to the gym here, and we can hear what sounds like hundreds of people, but I don't know how many people are in there cheering, and it's fantastic. I love our high school athletics and all of our amazing coaches, and it builds a lot of community, and it's just a great thing to celebrate.
Thank you. It's your Suzanne. So would you like to go next? Me? Okay. We have an action item on later tonight where hopefully we'll be welcoming on a new board member, and that's always exciting. I've had the opportunity to know Amy Rice for a number of years, and I believe that she's going to be a great addition to this board. Not to sway your vote now or early, but it just always excites me that we have so many people who want to be here. Right, we're all volunteers, and so when anyone steps up to take up the challenge, it's something to celebrate. Amy?
Mm-hmm. I am going to celebrate Dr. Ike. I've been saving this picture. No, it's not. It's good. It's all good. We all work together when it comes to supporting a student, and that means everybody from everybody. And I don't know how to get this up. Oh, like that. So this is a picture of Dr. Ike. Can you see that?
No, you're not on my
Look up there.
We can see you.
So
there.
You can't really tell. He is talking with this student. The student's shoes squeaked when he walked. And we had a conversation about mice in the shoes. And that was exactly what this student needed at that moment to get to where he needed to be. Huh?
Shut off.
It shut off? My
Yeah,
phone?
that's okay.
Anyway,
We all saw the picture.
but I celebrate Dr. Ike because he was just cruising down the hall and saw that I needed a little bit of extra help with the student, and he just didn't keep walking like others could have done or he could have done. He chose to stop and engage in a conversation with this student, and it was exactly what we needed. So, and I have lots of pictures of him doing similar things with other students that I see.
Every time I see that little guy now across campus, I say, "Hey, do you hear a mouse?" And he shuffles his feet, and his shoes go squeak, 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 squeak. So yeah, him and I are like we're mouse friends.
Yeah. So thank you, Dr. Ike, for being my mouse friend when I needed it.
John, in my rotation, you would actually be next, but you have a lot of celebration. Okay, good.
I got one that's not a slide, and it's a personal celebration. My little Abby Jane Ike is got a birthday on Saturday, and she's turning 12 years old. I'm a big fan. She's out playing softball tonight. I couldn't drive her to softball fields because I'm here with you. So her big brother Tyler Ike is driven her out to softball, and it's just my kids. I just love them, man. I love them so much. So shouting out Abby Jane. It's her birthday this weekend.
Yay. Sean?
I still think of her as like,
Right.
I can still picture Christina pregnant.
Yeah.
And
Well,
Tyler. Wait a minute. What do you mean Tyler's driving her?
Tyler had been in 6th grade, so the fact that we're old.
Yeah.
No, the kids have been around. We're staying the same.
Oh, they're just catching us?
Yes.
Okay.
Good. I will celebrate
4th time's the charm. We have a vacation scheduled over October break that we were supposed to take in 2020. Obviously, didn't. 2021, same reason. 2022 threw in a hurricane just to make life exciting. So we're fingers crossed for 4th time's the charm for that vacation.
And
I'm gonna celebrate my little man. He had his 2nd game for fall ball, and yesterday he was pitching. The score was 16-14, and all the visas were loaded. And it was actually his friend that was at bat, and he struck them out, and so they ended up winning. So it was a really good game. And he's just his team has won 2 for 2 so far. So it's pretty exciting.
That's very fun.
Love it.
Early.
I'm going to celebrate our walking school bus. And I'm going to celebrate that because there's a couple of things. First, I guess over last week or the week before, they were the highest school. We were the highest school with the number of walking students, which is amazing. But number 2, it's really helped my little kindergartner feel very welcome because there's 2nd graders, 3rd graders. I think there's a 5th grader who's now officially a volunteer. I think he's a 5th grader, maybe even a 6th grader, but he's an official volunteer, and he really helps like the new ones kind of get into the mix, especially the days that some of the parents don't walk with the new ones. And she's met some friends outside of her kindergarten class or her little elective cohort, and I found a new level of confidence that she's had now, especially when I wasn't here this week. My husband was like, I just dropped her and she felt so good walking on her own with all her stuff, and it's really created a really nice environment of welcomeness for her. So the walking school bus, hooray.
I'm sure this will shock no one in the room, but I'm very competitive. And so I may often have the chance to walk by or be around another school's walking school bus. And I am always like, if that was Westlake, there'd be like 5 times more kids. So I feel I miss walking school bus.
I feel like I've also made some parent friends on the walking school bus as I volunteered, and it's such a great environment to meet folks. So great.
Steve.
I'd like to give a shout out to Satvir Ark. Satvir is a new member of the Finance Committee. Went through the cohorting process, expressed interest to become a member of the Finance Committee. Showed up a couple weeks ago to the first meeting of the year. We had a very productive meeting. He's already adding some great value. So celebration of Satvir and the process as well.
Okay,
Sorry, I took so much time to think. Now I have a whole bunch, and I'm like, which one should I share? Well, I want to share. It's cool because John got to know John this last year because I worked for CCSA in my role, and in the spring brought some people from our conference to see the creative facilities at the high school in here. And at that presentation, John talked about the rubber band, like moving people slowly. So I now am a director of a charter school, and I was in a CMO meeting today, and we were talking about leadership, and I was like, I need to share this. So I shared it, and everybody was like, ooh, ah. So it's just neat to be able to share those ideas and see how it makes things so much better for students, and that's what we want. So thank you, John.
You'll get lots of those. I may have texted John over the weekend. I was working on this mission statement with this other group, and you just won't believe what happened. Yeah, you'll talk to John a lot about that kind of stuff. Are there any other board comments for items that aren't on the agenda? Seeing none, do we have any public comments that have been submitted?
I am looking at the inbox right now. There's no public comments.
Okay. That brings us to reports. Did we receive a wave report?
I did not.
Okay. That's fine. Just no report. Then Impact did not meet this month, so I don't have a report. Development did meet. Nurali, would you be comfortable sharing what we did the last meeting? No, you don't have to. I can do it.
I just ate some chocolate in my mouth. I wasn't prepared.
Today it's John's fault.
Yeah, totally. The sweet treat was really good.
It is.
I've never had a vegan chocolate, so thank you very much. Adventurous. Yeah, so development committee met, and I think a couple of things we talked about. We spoke again about how we were going to work with our Explorer partners this upcoming year, how to gain more engagement. We briefly touched on our Big Day of Giving campaign. And I think one of the biggest things we're looking forward to is our chili cook-off. Last year we had a theme and individuals on the board participating, and I think we're going to be doing that again at our next meeting. So I would say maybe in the next month, look out for an email to see if anyone on the board would like to come help volunteer. We want to have another booth. We will not be competing, unfortunately. I know Hope was really sad about that last year,
Because
but
I'm not competitive at all.
no, not at all.
No.
But we did have the coolest train. I will say that. We had a whole, come on board the board of directors train. So that was cool. And yeah, we also had a new committee member, and he brought on some really good ideas on how to really engage with the community. And I think we're really looking forward to seeing and continuing how to work closely more with our Explore partners, really looking at our fundraising goals, I'd say, and then identifying and establishing goals for this upcoming year.
Perfect.
Yes,
We just finished reports, and I'll do exactly that.
Yep.
He knows. It's all good. We're not. We can't. John and I can't send bat signals in the room. It's very unusual not to be able to. Sean in finance.
Now I'm intrigued.
You won't.
Okay, fine. So finance met last month. As Steve mentioned in his celebration, we onboarded our new member, Sapphire Arc. And so we got an update from Steve on all things CBO. And we also did a review, sort of procedural review of our compensation review process to help with Sapphire's onboarding. And so we will be continuing that process in our next meeting, where we will be starting with our compensation review, which is likely to touch on both salary and benefits.
Perfect. Governance met tonight. Next month, you'll see a lot of the pieces of that labor. We'll bring back changes in terms of really only titles, but to the conflict of interest code, as well as the credit use policy. We're going to have a discussion around Westlake being a full inclusion school and what that means, and the policies that might go along with that process. We're hoping to bring back a recognition calendar to sort of guide us in all the wonderful things that we should or can be celebrating that exists in our world. And we'll talk about it more during board goals, but the governance committee will be taking on work around board committee and executive director goals. With that, John, before we start your report and to make sure everyone knows what we were talking about before, I am super sorry, Kevin. Are there any public comments at the high school?
There are no public comments at the high school.
Never saw it
I
coming.
really appreciate you being there and doing this for us. I apologize immensely. With John on the screen too, I'm discombobulated and couldn't do it without you. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Simas.
No problem. Thank you. Have a good night.
Appreciate you.
John, your report.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Hi, everybody. Thank you again for allowing me to be somewhat remote. I'm here on campus in my little executive director bubble, trying to keep my germs on this side. I really wanted to be in the room with all of you, but I thought you wouldn't appreciate that about 5 days from now when your allergies popped up too. Here we go. So actually, last time, I believe at the end of the meeting, Hope Golick made some comment about how long my presentation was. So I'm just going to set a timer so that there's no question about how long it is.
I usually set the timer.
Are you? I'm just making sure.
I did tell Steve earlier in the week he wasn't using enough words, which I've also never said before. So.
I'm not claiming it's going to be short. I just want to know exactly how long it is before I get started. Yeah, I've got not a ton of slides, but I do have enough celebrations though to get kicked off. This is the top of the celebration heap right here. I told Roland Eichley, our 8th grade humanities teacher and esports commissioner at the high school. He's the esports commissioner at the high school, but he's also running an esports elective here at the middle school. He's got like 30 kids who playing in the esports middle school elective. Now, of those 30 kids in the elective, 6 of them make the after school squad, and those 6 kids are our middle school esports team. Well, who do they compete against, might you ask? Funny you ask. They are in a tournament right now, including 23 other schools across 6 different states, California being one of those states. And right now, that's the leaderboard for the entire league, 6 of the top 10 spaces on that leaderboard belong to Westlake Charter School students. Let's give a little whoop whoop for those guys right there. Look, our esports at the middle school is obviously thriving. Our esports at the high school is thriving. And what's super cool, and I wish you'd come visit, I'll take you on a walk, our esports arena is currently in the same classroom as our STEM teacher teaches. So you got Lego robotics over here, you got kids coding, legit coding here, and on this wall, kids doing esports. It is like next level. So big shout out to Roland Eichele and all the people involved in that right there. Love that. Hey, back to school night at the K8 was a huge success. Parents everywhere, people smiling, lots of connections. But it was equally awesome at the high school and a little different vibe, right? I mean, the high school vibe was a little different than the K8. But when you walk through the high school, you really thought, yeah, this is a total extension of that K8 mission of what is now our K12 mission. Lots of engagement, lots of collaboration with families. Really a great vibe at the high school and the K8 for back to school night. I want to shout out the K8 specialties because we got some new folks in the room. You got Rebecca Montez, who is teaching on the kind of the K3 Spanish side. You've got a couple of new folks in the PE world. Mr. Panhorse is an intern right now, but he was previously a substitute teacher for us. So later on when I talk about onboarding and growing your own, this is somebody that we'll be referring to as Mr. Panhorse there. Really just a great crew. You can see down in that corner over there, Codis Sandifor, who also used to be a substitute here. Just a great gaggle of people who are rocking our K8 specialties right now. Super proud of the work they're doing there. Fall Picture Day. That is for students, obviously, but also for staff. There's a great picture of Tony and Stacy, who, as we all know, internally rule the universe. Somebody made a comment?
I said that's awesome.
Yeah, they are awesome. Yeah. Picture Day was great this year. Everybody got their staff ID cards. We're rocking right along. And this I wanted you to see, because if you're just driving past, you'd be like, oh my gosh, what is happening in that parking lot? Like, legitimately, we're blowing things up on purpose. Our new chemistry teacher is phenomenal. The kids are digging him. They're loving the chemistry program, and our students are getting hands-on opportunities to do really cool stuff in chemistry. Hey, we're learning from books, but we're also learning from hands-on. And this was them out in the parking lot, creating chemical reactions, and it was just a really cool opportunity to take a picture. Committee Wednesday, we've reshuffled the way that we are doing our shared leadership committees, and it's in response to a national conversation at school. Like, hey, I'm a school employee. How long should I be here? How often should I be expected to work beyond 8 hours? As committees, we've always been like, hey, we're gonna jam at like 4 o'clock. Committee meeting goes to like 5:30. You do a couple of those a month, and all of a sudden you're like, man, I'm working late a lot. So we've reshuffled our committees to happen during the school day, during Wednesday time, and it's really powerful. Number one, you have new people on committees who would never serve on committees before. I had a couple people in the leadership team meeting this month, and I was like, wow, me and you've worked together for a decade. This is the first time I've seen you in a committee meeting. And they're like, yeah, well, I can never come because I always had to go, pick up my kids after school. So I loved Committee Wednesdays. If you hear as a board member that our teachers are leaving in mass, from the K8 on a Wednesday. This is why. It was weird because the bell rings and we're all like running across the parking lot. There's 30 teachers running, and it looked like we're all just heading to the beach. But really, we were all heading to the high school for our committee meetings. So I want to make note, we weren't all just leaving early. We were heading over to the high school. A lot of fun. I love our shared leadership pieces there. This is celebrated time and time again, and several of you celebrated this tonight, both in the board meeting, but also in the governance meeting. Our high school athletics is just fire. It is just, I'll say this over and over. I can't believe there was a time where we asked ourselves, I don't know, should we do athletics when we build out a high school? None of the other charters really are all in on athletics. Is it that important? It seems like it's expensive. It seems like it's a distraction. Oh my gosh. Do you know that right now, guess the percentage of students at the high school that are currently involved in athletics? Good guess. I'll tell you what it is. We have 30% of all high school students currently involved in sports. Not over the whole year, just fall sports. So I'm telling you, it's making a huge impact on a wide group of students, and that doesn't even include the esports right there. What do I got? Oh, we did a touch of understanding in 4th grade this year. If you're not aware of what this is, it is a disability awareness program. They come in, they allow our children to utilize wheelchairs and walking canes so that our students understand disabilities that they can see. Like, oh, I can see that person in a wheelchair. But then they also talk to them about unseen disabilities. They have presenters who say, hi, my name is so-and-so. I have an invisible disability. I am diagnosed with on the autism spectrum. And they talk to kids about autism and different invisible disabilities. And it immediately sets that inclusive mindset that they've grown up with since kindergarten, but it really roots it right there in 4th grade. I love this program. And big shout out, guess which high school is going to get to pilot the new high school Touch of Understanding program? Any guesses? Westlake Charter High School. Good guess. Good guess. Wish I was in the room so I could see you all smile, but I'll just look at the pictures of your faces. You guys look great. And I love this one. I said, hey, we got to include this for the board because the board, we are a board, and this is a council, which is much like a board. It is a council of elected students. Here are your Westlake Charter School 2023-2024 student council at the high school. What's really significant is we now have upper class people, right? You now have 11th grade officers who are overseeing the student council. It's really a significant moment. We are planning a prom. We are planning homecoming with upper class people. It's really a cool bit. Congratulations to all of them. Big shout out to Abby Grimaldi and the whole leadership team who made this happen. And then this is like, if this doesn't make your heart warm, you might want to check your pulse. Like, this is good. This is good. Grandparents' Day. There's a line out the door, I think yesterday morning, of grandparents signing in 2nd grade. Just the joy and the love of the children bringing their grandparents in, asking them what it was like when they were in 2nd grade. Many of them admitted they couldn't remember that. We thought that was fun. But we also somebody brought in a record player, and the kids are like, oh my God, what is that? That's amazing. It was just great. The old telephone. That was great. Grandparents' Day is fantastic. And then, of course, our WAVE meeting and our WAVE coffee talk were jam-packed in these last month. And big shout-out to Tony Elgamel, who's our new WAVE president. I think it's my fault that she didn't present tonight because I was supposed to connect with her and prep her for tonight, but because I was out with allergies. I think I didn't prep her to be here today. So sorry about that, Tony. We'll get you here next month, 100%. And my final celebration is your homework. You all had homework to do, and every single board member clicked on the All About Me page, and so that's why each of you got a little sweet treat because you told us a few of your favorite things. There's your column of sweet treats right there, so you have sweet treats in front of you. There's also another celebration, though, because if you clicked right here on the governance page, at the bottom of the governance page, right here, there's like this thing that says click here for something important. And if you were to click there for something important, you would have seen my face and it would have said, congratulations, you found the hidden link. So congratulations to Husted and Patel for being our board members who found the link and emailed me that they found the link. And so because you filled out the All About Me page, Husted says she collects stickers. So I think she's got a swag bag filled with all kinds of collector item stickers, all Westlake stickers. And Patel said her favorite scent was eucalyptus, maybe? And so Kahigas went out and got her a eucalyptus candle. So you fill out the All About Me page, you play along, and all the good things happen. Those are my celebrations. Thanks for listening. I'm going to dive into some strategic actions. Any board comments on any of those celebrations before I get started? Just trying to engage you. Yeah, cool. Let's roll. Thanks for shaking your head, though. Appreciate seeing your face. It's wonderful. I'm feeling a little lonely over here. Let's talk some strategic actions. I'm going to talk through staffing update, grow your own, and substitutes. And I'm going to talk about professional development series that we are launching here for our certificated staff. I love this first one. Oh, and we're going to talk PSAT, NMSQT, and SAT because I just like me some alphabet soup. And I wanted to see if anybody could say what all of those acronyms are. We'll find out soon. Oh, and probably can. That's all.
I can go for
Here's one right now. We're just in the middle of it. That's all.
Let's talk staffing. So we are 100% staffed on our certificated side of the house. And I know for many of our longtime board members, you're like, that's not a big deal. It's September, of course we're staffed. Well, I recently met with several other charter leaders in the region who are like, hey, you got an extra math teacher? We're looking for an ed specialist. We don't have a school psychologist. We've got 3 or 4 people on part-time contract from places like Learning Solutions and K-12 Health. It's really just important to note that, like, big shout out to the Westlake Charter team, our principals, our vice principals, our directors. They killed it this year in staffing, and we are 100% staffed. And I'm just loving the people we brought on this year. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, there you go, Ambu. Throw out a little emoji. I love that. I want to talk a little substitute staffing because, in the last couple of years, we've done some innovative work around this, but because there continues to be a shortage of substitutes available. For whatever reason, in the last several years, we've seen less and less people in the sub pool. So currently we have 4 substitute teachers who are on a 180-day substitute agreement. Now, you might recall, I talked about this at the beginning of the year, we had 7 substitutes who were on a 180-day agreement, but 2 of them have moved in a daily sub. One of them took a full-time teaching job in another school. So this is a fluid number. I have 4 full-time subs, and I have 2.5 full-time teachers that we overstaffed so that they could be part of our faculty, but they could fill in as long-term subs because we know we have multiple maternities this year and leaves that need to be covered. Now, you could use a 30-day sub to cover for a leave, but if somebody's going to leave for 60 days, we believe it's better to have somebody who has a full-time credential who could cover that leave for longer than the 30 days. So even with all of those staff that we have, we think it's great, obviously, because it creates reliability. These people are familiar with our routines, and they are all potential internship candidates, right? If you're subbing for us in the long term, we might say, hey, why don't we help you get a credential? And I'll talk about that on the next slide. But I would like to say, even with 6.5 staff assigned, there are days that we're unable to fill vacancies. So we have had our teachers on special assignment fill in. We've had our administrators, administrators have all filled in and substitute taught. Some poor kids have even had me as a substitute teacher at times. That's always gets very loud. So we're doing a good job. I think we're making it work. But I am out recruiting a few more of those 180-day substitutes right now. And we will obviously, if we get into a situation where a lot of people are out sick, potentially have to engage in that practice that we call Franken-subbing, where I sub on my prep period and you sub on your prep period and she subs on her prep period to make sure that the classes are covered. Any questions about staffing or substitute staffing?
Nope.
Right on. So I just want to talk about this Grow Your Own program. This suggestion was made by the Impact Committee back in 21 when the Impact Committee wrote a white paper on how to diversify staff. The premise was that if you grow your own, if you look into your own classified staff and say, hey, are any of you intern eligible? How can we help you get a credential? These recommendations were made back in 21 to start a Grow Your Own program. We started that program. I'm trying to get down here. We started that program a couple years back, and last year we had one intern who was previously a classified employee who we brought on as an intern, and we've helped her in her credentialing process. This year, across the K-11, we have 8 interns who were previously classified staff members or certificated substitutes. One of them is actually a former Westlake Charter School student. She is our first student who's become a teacher. Several are in specialties, a couple are in general education, a couple are in special education, and then there's 2 at the high school. So they're spread pretty evenly across the organization. We're really proud of the work we've done there to grow our own. These are people who worked here, and we've helped them grow into a classroom setting, and it's actually helped to meet multiple goals for us. One, to fully staff our community of classrooms, but two, to help to diversify our classrooms to meet the brilliant diversity of our community. So really proud of that work, and we'll continue and report back as we go forward on this program. Any questions about the Grow Your Own? Super duper. We got some good PD going on right now. I know, this is just something I'd like to let everybody know. What are we working on? K-5 math adoption this year. Super excited about that. It's going very well. Jen Kite, who's leading that. That obviously aligns with Goal 3, Objective 4 regarding academics. Goal 3, Objective 2, which is around, grading practice, vertically aligned grading practices. Our middle school read Grading for Equity as a team and have had multiple engagements around this book, and they're really just doing some amazing vertically aligned work in the middle school. Our specialties team had never been formally trained in a responsive classroom. So we pulled the specialties team and the instructional aides that support specialties like our PE aides and had them all formally trained in responsive classroom techniques, which is really a part of our SEL piece, which is Goal 4, Objective 3. And then WASP development. The high school spent 2 full PD series launching the 5 areas of WASP. Curriculum, instruction, assessment, school culture, and school leadership. And that work is well underway at the high school. And obviously that's executive director goal number 3, which is, seeing that high school come to fruition. Series 2, which is launched yesterday, I believe, is that work around a professional learning community. We did some of that in the first 5. We obviously did a whole year of it last year. It addresses Goal 2, Objective 2, but we're deep diving into the beginning of a second series on that right now. That'll take us out for another month and a half. And then in October, late October, we'll be launching our next series, which will be personalized through our new platform called the Everest Academy, which I told you about last time, which is some digital platform learning for our that's personalized for our staff. And I'll maybe bring an example of that back once it launches. Any questions about that piece? Super duper. All right. PSAT, NMSQT, and the SAT. I just wanted a bunch of letters that seem to mean nothing. Now that we have 11th grade, you are the school board of a high school that has 11th graders. So the preliminary scholastic aptitude test, or the PSAT, it will also serve as the National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test. So the PSAT qualifies as the NMSQT, and that will be facilitated on October 25th. That test will be open to all 11th grade students, and all costs for that exam will be covered by Westlake Charter High School. But it'll be covered by us, so there'll be no cost to our students. The SAT, or the Scholastic Aptitude Test, will be facilitated in the spring of 25, and again will be open to all those 11th graders, and costs will be covered by the school. Any questions on that? Just wanted you to hear that we're growing up. We're up to 11th grade now. Super duper. All right, updates. I got 2 updates for you, I believe. One of them is the facility use agreement engagement, and the second one is around the LCFF local indicators. So the facilities use discussion is really important right now because our current facility use agreement, or FUA, expires in June of 24. The renewal is going to take several months. I have 4 meetings on the books with Angela Herrera, who's the NUSD school liaison for charter schools. We're going to meet next Wednesday at 1:30 for our initial conversation on FUA. Then we're going to meet in October, November, December. Had to kind of fight to get this series of meetings really buttoned up, because my premise is this: as you can see on this picture here, this is the East Commerce Innovation Center, or 4400 East Commerce, which is our high school. Back here's the Oasis. Can you all see my mouse? Yeah,
Yes.
cool. Just checking. And then these are not real portables. They're just a drawing. I don't know if that was so realistic that you thought portables were already there, but we drew these portables. We didn't draw them. They were drawn by an architect who came out, measured the space, and said, yes, you could fit 5 portables back here, and this red fence line could close this in, and therefore we could expand the Oasis this way for more outdoor seating and outdoor learning spaces. if this gate opens and this gate opens, then this is wide enough for a fire truck to get through. We are now sending those designs out for approval from the city, which will be part of the FUA negotiation with the district. Well, why do I bring this up here? Well, it's really important that if we don't get this authorized by like January latest, those things aren't going to get there by August of next year. And so there's a real time crunch here. So we are expecting to get in the room next Wednesday and start this conversation. I would really hope that by December, this conversation is buttoned up so that a January, February board meeting for NUSD, they could approve at least this portion of the FUA and get those portables started for our students in the fall of next year. Now, other considerations in the FUA conversation is Site A. That's the site you and I are on right now. There's all kinds of deferred maintenance. Believe it or not, our school is now, we're at the end, it will be 7 years old, right? So you're like, hey, there's some painting that needs done and some signage that needs replacement. And, you know, we've got a whole list of things that we think are deferred maintenance items. Steve Corvink, who's brilliant, wisely went into the facilities master plan from 5 years ago and looked at schools that were 5 to 7 years old at that point and said, hey, what projects got funded the last time the FMP came out? And we said, oh, cool, they repainted their doors, we'll repaint our doors. Oh, they repainted their blacktop, we'll repaint our blacktop. So we've mirrored our requests based on that. Obviously, Site B in the FUA conversation is the East Commerce location for our high school. Obviously, expansion is on the table. Portables is a potential solution. I mean, there are other solutions. Portables is one, or, you know, blowing down some walls and moving out the neighbors. That's a potential, but there's still, those neighbors have a lease. There's also, you know, things like there's an HVAC situation in the commons that we'd like to see rectified. It gets a little too warm in the commons and a little too cold in the winter. And then Site C, our future high school campus, as we are working to acquire a piece of land, we would like included in the facility use agreement the development of that future site, the inclusion of that land in a facility master plan. And we'd like to see in our facility use agreement this inclusion of you know, some type of a guarantee that future bonding would fund a project like that. And these are all things that we'll be negotiating over the next 4 months. There are no guarantees, but that is what we will go to the table and negotiate over, and I'll be updating you regularly. It's a big topic. It's a single slide, but it's worth like 30 slides. Any questions, thoughts, concerns, considerations about this topic?
No.
Cool. This next update there was a lengthy board brief on. I hope you got a chance to read the brief. I hope in the brief I didn't use too many exclamation points, but there's some frustration. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little frustrated about this topic, and it'll probably come out in my voice. I had some conversations with our team about whether or not to present this to the board publicly, but in reality, I think I decided that it's important that we say in a public setting on YouTube that this is how this transaction has transpired, and that we're able to put it in a brief, in a board packet, so that if 5 years from now somebody goes, hey, wasn't there a little glitch in your dashboard one time? We can all point back to this slide deck and to this YouTube video and to this board brief and say, well, yeah, but there's some circumstances that I think we should all be aware of. So let's start in 2021, 2022. All of our local indicators were met. You can see that all of them down here are met. Did we have the correct amount of teachers? Were they correctly authorized? Did we meet all of our local requirements? Yes, we did. All indicators were uploaded on time to the dashboard in September of 22, because the dashboard updates, for example, this year, September 29th. So we always upload our local indicators before the dashboard goes live. That's what we believe we've been required to do. Now in July of 23, so it's 3 months ago, the CDE informed 400 LEAs and districts, that represents between 20 and 25% of all schools in California, that the local indicators will be changed to not met. So does it mean we didn't meet any of these? Well, no, all the data is still clear. We met all of those indicators. Then why, might you ask, are they being changed to not met? Well, the indicators, according to the California Department of Education, must be received by the board of directors at the same meeting where the board adopts the LCAP. Okay, we did not do that. However, we've never done that. We've always done it in September, as have many schools. However, for whatever reason, they decided this is the year. We're not going to tell anybody or warn anybody. We're just going to say, you failed to meet this requirement, and we're flipping these to not met. They're not going back and flipping our 2021, 2020s. They're doing 122. We never received any notification that we had not met standard prior to this. So we've always uploaded in September. We've never been told, hey, that's an inaccurate, inappropriate process. But all of a sudden this time we've been told this. So we went and appealed. The evidence we included in our appeal was included in the board brief. First we said, hey, we've always met standard. We've always reported in a consistent manner, and we had no reason to believe that there were any errors in our current practices because we've done it multiple times in September. The previous language that we found on a legacy CDE website demonstrated less clarity about the rule. It said, local indicators must be presented to the board in a non-consent item as a part of the annual process where LCAP is developed and approved. Now, it didn't say at the same meeting, but that website has now been updated and it now says that. So I don't think it's a bait and switch. I think someone's just kind of covering up some tracks because 400 LEAs and districts didn't read that the same way they thought they had written it. So now they have rewritten it and it's crystal clear. You have to upload, or you have to present those local indicators to the board at the meeting where you are concurrently approving your LCAP. So we found that legacy website through some Google searching, and we sent a screenshot in our appeal to the CDE. They didn't respond to that, but they did tell us, well, in 2020, we said this is the rule, and we're sticking with the rule. So the other evidence we said was the communication regarding the newly clarified expectations went to the authorizers. So at some point during our interaction with the CDE, they said, hey, there was an email sent out on January 9th, and we said, oh, well, none of us got the email. We searched every email inbox. Then there was some argument around, well, who do you think is the person you should send the email to? And it turns out that the email probably went to the authorizer, but didn't get forwarded to us. And why would it? Why would the superintendent at NUSD forward us that email? So nobody wants to own that. I think that's what happened. It's okay. The error's on us. The CDE response was that these rules were established in 2020. We should have known it. We should have followed it. And they're right. We should have known. We should have followed it. So our board is being made aware that our local indicators, we think, late September, will switch to not met for a short amount of time. And then the new indicators will be posted on September 29th. And then it'll say we met. I bring it up publicly tonight because I don't know that 5 years from now in reauthorization, somebody doesn't say, hey, wasn't there a time when you didn't meet any of your local indicators? And I want on record that we met all of our local indicators and followed a process that's always been approved. And for whatever reason, that process has changed. So my last piece is, it's really interesting. We were interacting with a man from LCFF, and his name I don't need to say, but he wrote page 2 of the Sacramento Office of Education's Charter Connection newsletter, and it's called Dashboard Update. And while we went back and forth with this guy for over a month in the appeal process, and he claimed everybody should know that this rule was already in statute, he authored this page right here that very clearly lays out the things that we should have known. So either he was doing that in response to us, or maybe he was doing that in response to the maybe hundreds of emails that were coming in to the California Department of Education. Again, I will own that we made the error, team, but I will say that now we know the process going forward. The error won't be made again. Westlake always follows the letter of the law. Why wouldn't we? In this particular slide, I just indicate that we have this new newsletter being put together by SCOE, Sacramento County Office of Education, to bridge the gap between charters and districts, because what we're finding is a lot of information from the CDE gets transmitted to the county, and the county transmitted it to the district. But the district doesn't have to transmit it to us, and then things like this happen. So this little charter corner is developed, or charter connector is developed, so that we stay in better connection with the Sacramento County Office of Education. As a part of this newsletter, there's an explanation of this long-standing guideline. It explains in here that, since 2020, we've been supposed to do it in this particular way. It doesn't mention that like the language is subtly changed. It acknowledges that a communication protocol is established and regular communications are now clear. And there is a new communication protocol because the CDE has established a single sign-on communication platform, as opposed to asking us to voluntarily sign up for listservs or come to voluntary webinars to collect information. Now, this single sign-on communication platform creates an opportunity for everyone to get all the information they need from the CDE when it's produced, as opposed to hoping that an email that gets sent to one party is forwarded to another party. Okay, I probably spoke too long on this. I was definitely a little frustrated by it, and I apologize to you for you have to be the board that owns the fact that next month we may, for a moment, have some local indicators that say do not meet. Any questions on this topic? Any comments on this topic? All right, well done. All right, that is the end of my update. I believe that was 32 minutes. Hope Garlic, I'll turn it back over to you. Oops, that's the wrong one.
Thank you. John, will you just, before we go on to the consent agenda, see if we have any additional public comments?
Let's see. No public comments.
Okay. We have 4 items on tonight's consent agenda, items A through D. Are there any questions about these items, or is there a motion to approve?
I have a comment.
Okay.
On D, I have a couple of non-material changes that I would like to suggest. I don't know if you're just spelling errors, typos.
Your favorite? The board's just receiving and filing.
Okay.
So I believe we can receive them as is, but if you wanted to shoot an email to John with those corrections, those could those could occur ministerially.
That's what I figured.
Yeah.
Okay. In that
Thank
case,
you,
if
Sean.
nobody objects, I will move the consent agenda.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Nerali.
Hope,
Yes.
Sean,
Yes.
Josh is absent, Meredith is absent. Amber,
Yes.
Suzanne,
Yes.
Nurali,
Yes.
and Ann.
Yes.
That brings us to our discussion item for tonight, which is the 23-24 board committee and executive director goals. And you have slides, right, John?
Yeah, just the one.
Yeah.
Let me grab that. There we go. Am I taking this, Hope?
I thought so.
Yeah, totally, 100%. Sorry, I was looking at 3 screens at once. Yeah, well, we do have a new process I'd like to show you, or a new tool I'd like to show you on the goals page of the board website. We now have a spreadsheet containing board goals, executive director goals, finance committee goals, development committee goals, governance committee goals, WASC goals, strategic plan goals. I was going to put my own fitness goals on there. I thought that might have been too much, but boy, we got a lot of goals. But, it dawned on me, Hope and I have, these goals written down on Google Docs in every different folder. I'm like, wow, they're not really all in one place. So I'm sure you are all spending a lot of time on this board website because you're finding like hidden links and whatnot. But like if we go to the goal section, there's a new little spreadsheet here, and it's got each of the goals, and you just click on these little tabs right here and see each goal, or you can use this link here and pop it out as a spreadsheet, and you can look through whatever goal you want. I just wanted you to see that tool there. I also went ahead and embedded the spreadsheet on each of the committee pages. So like if you go to the governance committee and you scroll down, there's the governance goals, And if you go to, a different committee, you'll find a different committee's goals right there. So that's where I wanted to start tonight, was let you know that the goals are all there. If you're on one committee and you want to look at the other committee's goals to try to formulate, like I got a shout out to finance. Finance got a rock solid set of goals. They kind of utilize similar goals year after year because they're kind of procedural goals. How will we behave as a committee? Which is one form of goal, right? Procedural goals is, hey, it's our goal to review comp every year in this particular way. That's a procedural goal. Other goals, development this year came up with goals that they're hoping to rinse and repeat the following year, which is, hey, let's generate $10,000 annually in a repeatable fashion. So you could develop aspirational goals, procedural goals. The idea would be that committees probably break out in this next month, talk about your goals, bring your goals back to the board next month. It'd be great if governance got an eyeball on them before the board meeting, so if you can get them back to Hope or I, we'll bring them to Gov. But if committees all have goals, we can approve them next month. And then as far as the executive director goals, we got some feedback from you last month. I've also got some feedback via email. I'll take that, I think, along with board goals to governance, and let governance as a small group kind of ratchet on board goals and exec goals, and then bring them back here. So procedurally, that's what I wanted you to see. But from a discussion standpoint, we'd love to open a discussion on goals. Hope you're comfortable with us doing that?
Yes, I just want to sort of reiterate the idea or concept of committees setting their goals. If you don't mind, can we go to you, John? Just because, before governance, because really governance is going to take a heavy lift, I think, next month and craft the board goals and the ED goals and bring them back to you. But similar to last year, we also decided that certain of the board goals should be committee goals, right? And so it may be that the committee goals serve as inspiration in terms of what we recommend for the board to adopt. So the more ability committees have of sharing, governance is a great example where we took on board goal 2 last year, but just something to keep in mind. So if we can hear back from the committees and use those in crafting, it can be really useful in terms of making sure we're not just creating work to create work. Like, I want to make sure that we have goals that we all believe in and are working towards. And it can take a long time to get these goals going in multiple meetings, and preferably this might speed up the process. Sorry, John, that's all I really wanted to add.
No, that's great. That's great. And I wanted to show, that governance goal is a good example, right? Where the board goal was goal 2, and then the governance used that to create the onboarding cohorts. Well, let's talk goals. Does anybody have initial thoughts about? Let's go back to board goals. Let's just start there real quick, and then we can bridge to executive director and or committees. As you've been thinking about this for 30 days, any I really want to see us work on blank. And in that thought, you could also think, that would be a good goal to hand off to that committee. Any directional goals that you're looking at? Any goal you particularly like and you're like, we should keep that one or reiterate on that one?
I feel like all three need edits. I think I don't necessarily want to change their intent, the strict intent of why we did them the way we did them last year, but I think they certainly need progression.
Yeah. And we talked a little progressive language last time because, for example, board goal 1, I think it was Ann, but maybe I can't remember. But we talked about iterating this forward this year. Agreed?
Well, and as I shared with you, I really do want to have, and I don't have anything to propose tonight, unfortunately, but common language across the goals between the committees, the board, and the ED.
Yeah.
Again, so that we're all working in the same direction. Committees were created, right, to assist with the work of the board, and the ED and the board should work in tandem as a connected pair. And so the more that we can craft them as scaffolding or at least have them tie together, I think the stronger the organization will be, and potentially maybe it gets easier in future years to adopt these, or they are living longer into perpetuity.
Yeah. You know, as governance took goal 2 and crushed it last year, good job. I mean, I look at goal 1 and it's very closely aligned with the work that Impact intends to do. And as you've added more educators to Impact, you could see Impact potentially evolve more into like an academic oversight committee that still has that charter impact vibe, and that could come right out of board goal 1. So, yeah, I mean, those are some of my thoughts.
I had thoughts on the board goal 3 as it relates to development committee. I know our intent was to get our board and really our committees kind of drive more reconnection with the community. I really think trying to identify how we're going to do that, that's going to help us achieve that, will be something we need to restructure when it comes to this. I think reconnecting with the community is very great, and I know the involvement last year was focusing on having board members at many events present, but once we are there, what is our goal and our focus there? Is it to inform people what a board does? Is it going to be to be involved in assisting? What's making the biggest impact, and really making sure we're making the goal something that's really achievable? This one to me felt kind of hard to define or to really quantify, to kind of to identify in the end. Like when I'm reflecting on this, I'm like, did we achieve it? Did we not achieve it? Like, what's the quantification when it comes to this? And I know not everything's completely quantified, but even to assess how did we do in relation to it.
Yeah, this is very clearly coming out of COVID goal.
Yeah.
Right. We talked about, and then moving it forward. But I understand like what did we want to drive with that connection? What was the goal?
Correct.
So I totally understand your feedback. It's that one for me just screams COVID.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I don't have any ideas coming to me, and I really did think about it, and I was like, what is it? And I haven't really, nothing's really come to light yet, but maybe as a committee, when we think about it, maybe we'll come up with something more fruitful.
I had a thought, because I remember we did talk about that, right? That board goal was about connecting after COVID and talking. One of the thoughts we'd said was the whole innovative piece of Westlake. And I don't know how we could put that into a goal, but that as a board, we would encourage the staff or to be innovative, especially in regards to problem solving or looking at those pieces. So how could we encourage that as a board goal? I don't know if it can flesh out, but just a thought.
No, like in the same way too, I wonder if there's a goal where, I'm going to say this in a weird way and I apologize, but like we were talking in governance about our full inclusion practices, right? And how we're becoming more like, charter schools were created as incubators for new ideas and for iterative change and doing things differently to spread it. And I wonder if there's a goal we go back to. We used to have one, John, right, about going into our community and sharing our best practices, sharing what we do, sharing how we're innovating, right? And I wonder if goal 3 in terms of connecting is really about that. How do we connect with the broader community while showing all the great things we're doing? Because we're doing so many great things, and I'm not sure anybody knows it. Well, everyone in it knows it, but you get the wider world.
It's good.
Well, and that could come in the form of, presenting at conferences or work at other schools or opportunities, and maybe that's just our part of helping encourage the staff and those opportunities to share that innovation in different avenues.
I was thinking even just like the esports, right? Like I'm not sure we would be. I mean, the board might not be the best person to like people to man a booth at Fall Festival or whatnot, but right, does our community know about truly all the things that we're doing, the way we're creating spaces for our students to excel and to find their own passions and to feel engaged and connected, because engaged and connected students, right, is fighting absenteeism, right? Like there's just this piece there that I always wonder, and it's in the weekly, but like, is there a way to have our community connect with it more?
That makes me think of something our new committee member mentioned at our last development committee, which is how can we have, whether it be students at this campus or even our high school, really connect or it's the idea of shadowing, but it wasn't exactly shadowing, but really connect with a member of our community who's willing to say, I work in X, and the idea you're thinking of us sharing that, which I also say that perspective. I was also thinking the perspective of the community sharing a specialty with our students, and whether it be an idea of really being allowing our students to figure out how or who they want to connect with in the community. And we at the last coffee talk, there was a gentleman that does websites, and the conversation came up of, well, yeah, I do this. I would love to volunteer in the classroom that related to, I don't know the exact elective that was discussed. I would love to volunteer my time and help students who want to learn how to build websites or whatever it was. And that was in a form, a way of engaging with the community. It was a smaller parent community, but if you broaden that up, what does that mean as well? That was a good idea.
I can't wait for 12th grade government to come along. So I feel that, right? Like my wheelhouse is finally coming to the school, but I'm ready to run with that. But the sort of thing, right? If you had a senior or we had a requirement that had, not saying we're having this, John, just for the record, but like if there was a civic engagement piece to that, right? There was going to watch a live court hearing or coming and watching a live board, like however civic engagement ends up being presented, right? Building those connections so students can find a way to do that with someone who shares their interest, or it's coming to a government office because they want to, work in government someday. Like, is there like those opportunities?
As I look at these 3 goals right now, we've got a goal about outcomes. Hey, we should be, as a board, regularly monitoring student outcomes and talking about them in ways that matter to us. If it's true that we measure what matters, measuring student outcomes based on through the lens of diversity, equity, and inclusivity, that if that matters, I like that. We're measuring outcomes. Okay, check. Then we're talking about goal 2. I see that iterating this year, but we were saying, hey, we better find out how to bring on some new people to make sure we have a long-term stable board. We also have a board goal, to make sure that this board reflects the diversity of our community. How can we do that? So I see like one of them is measuring student outcomes. One of these goals is about us. How do we comprise us? Maybe that sunsets, maybe it reiterates. I don't know. That third one, yeah, Nirali, you kind of nailed it. It's like, what does that mean? But just putting that context of like, okay, student outcomes, that seems appropriate. I get the executive director goal down here. I just want to bring this up.
John, if I came up fast, your point right there it brings to mind, I don't know if anyone's watched Simon Sinek when he talks about the golden circle, right? What you just said, right, is really the golden circle.
Yeah.
Where is there that internal why goal? Is there the what goal and the how goal? Like how can we build it out so it's like the eternal, the slightly bigger, and then the community?
Yeah. Thanks for completing my thought there, Hope, because I think where I was going was when we talk about reconnecting our community, how do we connect that to our why? What is it so special about Westlake? And we think there's this thing about our community and the connectedness of our community. If we can put our finger on that and go back into the charter and find that language of how this all came to fruition and create a goal about continuously developing that might be worth us scratching on. What is that community engagement piece? Like Nirali said, what's it mean? I think that'd be cool to scratch on. I wanted to just bring up this executive director goal 3, which is to continue to remain focused on the success of our high school expansion and the eventual development of a permanent high school facility. I just don't want it to fall on I don't want us to forget that we are in the midst of a birthing process that is really challenging and critically important. And I think it's interesting that it's one of my goals, but it's not one of your goals. And so I just ask you out loud, to consider, what's the biggest thing you're working on right now as a board of directors? And I go, hey, the K-8 is rocking, and it'll die by 1,000 paper cuts, as will any organization. There's a million little things that you could constantly get caught in the weeds on in the K-8, but this K-8's well established. That high school is fragile and beautiful, right? But it may need we may want to help it launch because I don't know, man. It's a massive project, you guys. Every decision launches 1,000 ships. You know what I mean? So I don't know if it's appropriate for being a board goal, but it should definitely not stop being one of my goals. I don't wonder, like, if you want to really sink your teeth into something in the organization, I might ask you to be really aware of what's happening at the high school. It could probably use some of our attention always. I think it's doing great things. So most of it's just celebrations, but I just go, that's a big thing that's going on down there. And the facility use agreement, as we all know, is this negotiation between you and the Natomas Unified School District Board of Directors. I'm your negotiator, but you are engaged in a massive negotiation that has been ongoing for a number of years. And this board has authorized the school to spend $6 million on a piece of dirt, down the street. And so I think there's a thing there while we're in the midst of all the things we're talking about. Like, we might want to put our finger on that piece and keep it very front and center for a while. Just thought.
Can I just say, I strongly agree with that. I think out of everything you presented tonight, the LCFF thing is frustrating, but my biggest concern is the facilities issue. I think it's frightening a bit, and it's huge. It's a huge lift, and so I concur that it needs to be elevated.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So maybe we make one of our board goals, something around that, or you keep the executive director goal and put that thing maybe a little more robust. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I feel super spoiled, right? And so the fact that I'm looking at a design plan that has portables on it again, which is fine if we have to do. I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. It's nothing like that. But it's just this moment of having gotten through the launch of this facility and then seeing it again. But then, also with the FUA, it's also what allows us to stay at East Commerce, right? Like, there's a lot of pieces there. I'm not saying I'm not saying they're kicking us out or anything like that either. I'm not trying to cause panic. But the FUA is what establishes that. It establishes the going rate for that, how much space we can have there. Like, there's so many pieces to the FUA that I'm not sure that anyone outside this room really even understands its importance.
Yeah. And I think it's okay and appropriate to say in a public setting, in a public space, that, like, we are authorized by the Natomas Unified School District, and we are so grateful for the 84,000 square foot, $32 million bond-funded facility that we're in right now. And we're so grateful to actually share the temporary facility that we share right now with NUSD. I mean, they spend a lot of money on that every year. However, it is also appropriate to say that, like, there is a conversation in the Senate and the Assembly right now about a 2024 state construction bond. And we know that it was AB 1604 yesterday, passed. And that means that charter facility funding just took a massive hit in the state legislature yesterday, a big hit. And that is I hope that's not a canary in the coal mine.
Sorry, real fast. We're hoping for a governor veto. It's that bad.
Yeah, I mean, for those who don't recognize what AB 1604 is, I mean, AB 1604 is a bill that says, hey, we're going to reduce this instrument that's utilized for charter funding. It's not an instrument that we use or that we would use, but it is an instrument that's used by many charters across the state. But you know how it goes, like, just because that bill is reducing financial capacity for people to construct or rent charter facilities that are unlike us, it doesn't mean that we're not next. And so I just say, hey, in a time when legislatures and state senators are voting against charter schools, elections have consequences. And so while we know that there may be a state construction bond on the ballot in 24, we hope for that. I think we would hope for that, because that's partly how we might get a school funded, but it won't happen without also local bonding, which is, if the Natomas Unified School District ends up doing that, whoever sits in the NUSD board room when they have funding will have to negotiate with you to determine whether or not that funding gets used for your school site. So I just say elections have consequences, and boards have to negotiate with one another. So I would love to get our intentions in the facility use agreement in advance. I don't know that their board will be willing to do that, but we will certainly ask, hey, will you put in writing that if a future bond passes, we can build on this? And look, whoever sits in those board seats at NUSD at the time of that conversation matters greatly.
Yeah, there's local politics and there's statewide. Charter schools already have to do more with less, and it always feels like it's less and less. Like it's a slippery slope of loss.
Yeah.
So I think, John, I think we have pretty good feedback for governance, and then for us to work on some goals to heading into October. Did you want more from us, or?
That's perfect.
Okay.
Anything else, team? Any last thoughts on goals? Love it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Before we get to, I'm going to shake things up a little bit. We'll go future agenda items. We'll have a number of policies coming forward in October. We'll have hopefully a presentation from Katie Davis regarding our full inclusion model. A resolution regarding, like I mentioned during my report, a recognition for celebration of they're really worldwide items. We'll have goals. Can you name anything else that you have on October, John? Is there an academic report?
There is an academic report, as we are currently buttoning up NWA testing right now. So there'll be an October academic report.
Oh, the other thing about October, Sean shot me a look. See, sometimes you do have to be in the room where it happens. We need to move the October meeting 1 week. So if you all would check your calendars for October 19th, and you don't have to let us know tonight, but due to unavailability and potential quorum issues, we just need to adjust it. If the 19th doesn't work, we are open to other dates, right, John?
Yeah.
We just let us know. Okay. Well, we don't anticipate a report out of closed session, which is why we'll go ahead and go to reflection, and then I'll do the closed session announcement, and we'll otherwise adjourn. Does that work, John?
That's perfect. Thank you.
And then while we reflect, if any comments happen to come in, we'll read those right after reflections.
Yes, ma'am.
Who would like to start? Sean. Okay.
I always appreciate the willingness to not just say this is the way we've always done it, so this is how we're going to do it. So as far as the goals, it worked really well that we're kind of shaking things up a little bit and trying something new. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that works and whether that's something we'll want to keep doing.
Cool.
Thank you. Anne?
Yeah, I'll add to that. I like that we're having the conversation around really trying to align those goals, because I know that when you can be siloed in one of the committees, you can come up with so many ideas and you forget that, hey, is this mission aligned? So I think when it is aligned, it's definitely going to have a greater impact. And then the other piece is I really appreciate their transparency around the dashboard, even though it's a minor glitch, a bit of oversight, just being very transparent about that is always a good thing. So thank you.
Neroli.
Yeah, Anne took what I was going to mention, which was I think the thoroughness and the explanation on the memo in relation to the glitch, the system. I think looking back on things like that is really where our key strength will lie. So appreciate the work and effort and going through that in detail.
Do you want to chime in, Steve?
Sure, just real quickly. Shout out to John for aligning all the goals and putting them in one place. We were talking like, didn't we do this before? I could have swore we did. Apparently not. So thank you, John, for making it happen.
I may have gotten a phone call like that myself.
We all got it.
I think we all got it, yeah.
Full transparency, I was like, where are the governance goals? I write them on a bar napkin. Where are they? And then we
He's
realized,
like, all I have is the board goal. I was like, that's all there is. He's like, that's all there is. It's like, that's all there is. So,
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah,
appreciate that. I just, again, reiterating what you said, appreciating that transparency, but also bringing, John, that your goal to the board is an idea that could be a goal that we have. And I think it's important to all of us to see our high school get a permanent place. So thank you for bringing that up and bringing that to our attention.
I was going to celebrate the goals in one place. This morning, I was going through everything, going, okay, I need to be prepared for today. And then it was different. And I was so happy just to be able to go through everyone's and kind of see what everyone's been working on in one place. So fantastic job. It's a lot more useful now.
I use this at governance. I think it's the same here. I appreciate when John and I get a full packet out to you because it feels like you come better able to engage and participate. And so I'll want to reflect on thank you for the participation and taking the time to read what we put in there. I think Amy's first.
I'm first.
You playing it up? I raised my hand.
Raise his hand so I wouldn't forget it.
Right. I appreciate it. So this morning when John said his allergies were a thing, I was like, because we don't ever not have a meeting without, whatever. I said, John, what's the plan? And he had a plan at 7:45 this morning on how he was going to make this meeting work. Which just demonstrates his commitment to making sure that the well-oiled machine is on track. So props, my dude, props.
Technology for the win. I was gonna say, as a reflective process, having an engaged board is incredibly important. And all of you did your homework and you filled out the little all about me thing, which I know seems trivial, but it's really not. Like, everybody doing their homework is not trivial, because then we arrive here, we have good discussion, and we're well informed. So what worked well for me at this meeting is the fact that everybody in between the two meetings engaged a little bit. And then a big shout out to Cahigas for getting us all the sweet treats and stuff. So thanks, Cahigas, for doing that. Thanks for engaging. I think it makes for a better meeting.
Okay. Are there any last minute public comments?
No.
So with that, the board will adjourn into closed session. Tonight we have one item on, which is conference with real property negotiators. More info is available on the agenda. So with that, we'll adjourn the public portion.
We're going to turn off the YouTubes, but we're all going to stay here so we can meet. Bye, YouTubers. And
Do I have to do anything with all of this to turn off